Okay. Well, thank you, Lauren, for being here and giving us an overview of our concierge program and some of the updates. I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren McCarroll, and I'm one of the account executives at Zoom Casa, and we're the company that powers the Kw Concierge Program. So I just wanted to introduce myself and my company, and then also two programs that we found to be very beneficial the past few months. So our goal as the Kw Concierge Program is to provide a solution to your clients no matter where they are in the home ownership lifecycle. So that means whether they're looking to sell, looking to buy, or looking to buy before they sell, we kind of have a tailored solution for each of these scenarios. Our first and probably the most popular would be our pre-sale home prep process. So this is where we will enable your client to make any renovations or improvements to the property, specifically to increase the value before it hits the market with no out-of-pocket costs to them. So the costs are deferred to the closing of escrow. And the way that this process works is we will pay the vendors directly per their pay schedule. That includes staging, packing, storage services, landscaping, pool repair, etc. And then once the property sells on the open market, we are reimbursed through the closing of escrow. So the process is pretty simple for you as the agent. You would submit the details of the listing to our platform, and from there it gets assigned to one of our project managers. At that point, they'll contact you directly and discuss the scope of work. And from there, they will begin to get bids from the vendors to do the work. Now, we do encourage agents and homeowners to use their preferred vendors. They just need to be licensed and insured for us to work with them. Either way, once we get the bids from the vendors, the project manager will present a proposal to your client. It'll be completely itemized with the service and the price. And then your client can kind of pick and choose what they want to do. Once they sign off, work can get started. A few things to note: our margins will already have been factored into the vendor's costs at the time that the client sees the proposal. So if you are using your preferred vendors, we would need to get involved in the process before the client sees any pricing. Also, our underwriting has gotten a little bit more conservative due to the market shifting. So we have included an additional option for your clients who may not qualify for the pay upon closing option. This could be due to the scope of work being too big, or they don't have enough equity in the property. We are also offering a HELOC credit card. So this credit card would be directly tied to the equity in your client's home. They can apply online. It's through a company called Avon. They're usually approved or denied within a couple of hours. And from there, they're able to use the funds on the credit card. They have a lot more flexibility with who they hire in terms of their own vendors. So that's another solution for your clients as well. And just a few tips on how to present the KW Concierge. We can't blindly promise a budget without getting any bids. We tend to be pretty off. We don't want to promise a certain return on investment, especially with the market shifting. None of us can kind of guarantee what the return on investment is going to be. And we don't want to promise a fixed timeline as well. But what we can do is identify the current condition. We can make recommendations based on the as-is value range, identify the scope of work, and then what the possible ARV would be, and also explain the benefits of the concierge program. And you do have an account executive, me, who is able to help you do that as well. Next, we have our forward program, which is also known as Buy Before You Sell. Now, this program is specifically designed for your clients who are looking to make the new purchase before their current home sells on the open market. So maybe they need to be non-contingent and they still are carrying their current home. Or maybe they don't want to live through any renovations or open houses. Maybe they can't qualify for a new loan due to the current loan and their DTI being a little too high. With our forward program, we're able to wipe off their balance sheet, and then they're able to qualify for the new loan on the new purchase. And so forward works in two transactions. We would purchase the client's current property for up to 70% of the market value, up to 65% if the property is currently listed on the market. And we determine that price by ordering an appraisal and inspection. So once we have that number, we will purchase it for 70% of that. They get the funds less that mortgage balance payoff and then closing costs, and they're able to net the rest and put it towards the new purchase. At that time, we would either immediately relist the property with you as our agent, or we would take the time to do any pre-sale home prep, be it interior, exterior paint, kitchen reno, etc. Either way, once the property sells on the open market, the client gets all of the upside, less the closing costs, the agent's commissions, our concierge fee, which is around 2.89%, and also the cost of any work if any work has been done. So why Ford? Why has it been an asset for agents, especially the past year, year and a half? Well, it's a guaranteed backup cash offer for your clients. Your clients are able to move on their own schedule. They're able to direct us when they want us to close. Because we're not traditional buyers, we afford them that flexibility. They're also able to avoid flaky buyers. So often we see clients in escrow on the new purchase, but then the escrow on the current property falls out and then they're stuck. And sometimes they're not able to close on the new purchase. We're able to kind of come in, save that escrow, and take that current property off of their hands. And then also, you're not losing your commission to an iBuyer situation. Sometimes the client just wants to offload the property and be done with it, but they're leaving so much equity on the table and also cutting you out of the deal completely. With our Ford program, you still retain your full commission and your client has the flexibility and the freedom to move at their own pace. So I have an example of what a typical Ford deal would look like. So for my property on 123 Main Street, we've already done the appraisal and it appraises for $1 million. The clients have a $300,000 mortgage balance and they found the home of their dreams listed at 1.5 million and they're wanting to put 300,000 down for their loan. So when Zoom Casa purchases the current property, we'll do it for the 70% of that $1 million, which is the $700,000. From those proceeds, your client pays off the existing mortgage balance plus minimal closing costs, which are around 1%, and then they're able to net the rest. So in the first transaction, the client would net $390,000, which they've clearly hit their target down payment, and then they still have some wiggle room for moving expenses. At that point, we maybe just did a deep cleaning, and so we did $10,000 worth of pre-sale home prep, and the property ultimately sells for $1.1 million. After the agent's commissions, our concierge fee, and the reimbursement of the initial unlocked equity, and the reimbursement for the cost of the work that we did, as your client is happily settled in the new purchase, we will wire them the additional net proceeds of $292,375. So for a total net to seller of $682,375. An important thing to note about our Ford program is that you and your client would set the commission. So we don't have any involvement in what your commission is because it's being paid out of their proceeds. We'll honor whatever percentage you've agreed upon. Also, for the first 30 days, you and your client set the listing price and they have sole discretion over how we respond to any offer that's made. So for the first 30 days that the property is on the market, they can direct us to accept, reject, or counter an offer. At day 31, we would then begin decreasing the listing price 2% every 30 days thereafter, because we want the property to move as quickly as possible. So all of our interests are aligned in that aspect. We also do have a 0.79% monthly carrying cost, which will be prorated. That clock starts when we take the title and it's going to stop at the closing of escrow for the resale transaction. So this is one of our most recent successful Ford deals, 23305 Grand Avenue in Torrance. The clients were older, they wanted to retire to Texas. They were nervous about procuring the new property in Texas and then also having to sell their current property in Torrance. So with Zoom Casa, once we took title, they didn't have a mortgage balance. So they were able to net $975,000 in the first transaction. They were able to make a non-contingent cash offer in Texas on the property that they desired, and they were able to close successfully. And then now we're currently doing pre-sale home prep on this property. I believe we have a few weeks left and then it'll hit the market. And then once it sells on the open market, we'll just wire them the funds in Texas. And so this is my contact information. Again, my name is Lauren McCarroll. I'm your account executive. You'll have access to my calendar. So if ever you have a client who's interested in pre-sale home prep or interested in our forward program, you can definitely book a call with me for whatever time works best for both of you. You're not expected to know the ins and outs of the program. That's what I'm here for. And then I'm able to answer any questions that you or they may have, as well as provide preliminary numbers based on their scenario. So at this time, are there any questions?
It's a quiet bunch. I think quite a few people hopped on just after you finished the first program, and not to have you go through all of it again, but maybe you could just highlight, because that is your most popular
Sure.
program, right? They might be using that a lot.
Right.
If you could just highlight it, I guess.
So that's our pre-sale home prep program, specifically designed to increase the value of the property before it hits the market, with your clients paying nothing out of pocket. So the goal is for us to be able to, after we've established the scope of work, we pay the vendors directly per their pay schedule, and then we're reimbursed once the property sells on the open market. The client has sole discretion over any work that's done to the property. We have a project manager that oversees everything from start to finish. So they'll be responsible for scheduling, paying the vendors, maintaining the progress of the project. And then if your clients do not qualify for the pay upon closing option, we do have a new option, which is the HELOC credit card, which is through a company called Avon. And that credit card will be tied directly to the equity of your client's home. And that affords them a little more flexibility in terms of the vendors that they hire, because to use our pre-sale home prep program with the pay upon closing, so many P's, with the pay upon closing option, our vendors do have to be licensed and insured.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just say that since I help with the onboarding in all the offices, that the fact that you offer the project manager is so important, because oftentimes I hear agents that are transferring to us from other brokerages, and that office may have a concierge program, but a lot of times it involved the agent to play a part of it in it, and so I think it's important for our agents to understand that you assign a project manager so that they're not having to, interview landscapers or roofers or things. It's not their responsibility. So, and just how much does the agent stay involved? For example, let's say that you send someone out because the seller has a leaky roof that they know that they need to have fixed. To what extent is the agent kept informed about the process of what's happening with that repair?
That's a great question. It truly depends on how much the agent wants to be involved in the process.
Okay.
We do have some agents who are like, just handle it, let me know when it's done. And then there are other agents who may be a little more type A like myself that need to be updated as we move along, which is, perfectly fine too. So that's established early on between the agent and the project manager.
Okay, sounds good. And then also, can you speak to how, or some maybe some profiles of past experiences where agents are working with people flipping, or maybe the agent even has a property that they're flipping? How can the concierge play a part in that whole process?
So that's a complicated question. Traditionally, it would have worked, but due to the increased cost in construction and just overall the difficulty of finding contractors, we have kind of been a lot more conservative with the projects that we take on. So we were taking on a lot bigger jobs, full kitchen rental, or, an ADU, et cetera. But now, especially with the market shifting, if it's not necessarily going to make sense in terms of like, if we put $150,000 into a property and it's not going to get at least, 1.5% of that back, then we probably won't take on the bigger jobs. But that is also why we're offering the Avon credit card.
Right.
Mm.
That's new, right? The
That is,
credit card. Yeah.
mm.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
the
good. It is an alternative. You found an alternative solution.
And even with the Avon credit card, the client still has access to the project manager. They still have access to our platform of vetted vendors. They just will be paying for it as like progression payments instead of pay upon closing.
Right. Okay. And then can you just address, in case anyone has a question, about what happens if they start this process and for some reason the seller changes their mind or a deal goes through and they, decide not to sell? Oh, what happens in that case if they've already started the program with you?
That's a good question. So if any work has been done at that point and they choose not to sell, then the cost of the work is due and payable immediately. But we are partnered with the agent. So our contract is tied to the listing agreement. If for any reason the client takes the property off the market or breaks the listing agreement with the agent, then they do have to pay immediately.
Okay. And then I know we said we're going to update some of the marketing materials that the office has, but can you just let the agents know that are here today, what types of marketing pieces do you have available for them to when they go out on their listing appointments or such?
Absolutely. So we're working on new flyers, definitely an updated FAQ sheet. We're definitely changing the way that we view and we pitch forward as more of a guaranteed backup cash offer that seems to be working really well with clients and is appealing to clients. So I should have that shortly, as well as, of course, the brochure that is geared towards agents that I will have for you by the end of the day today.
Okay. So we'll, when we get that from Lauren, we'll make sure all the offices have it and send that out and also have it in the office too. It's a great idea to put, a page about this information in their listing presentation. So, whatever information we get from you, we'll have that available to be designed for their listing presentations as well. So are there any questions? Does anybody want to ask Lauren specifics or, you did a great job giving us the overview.
Thank you so much. There was one question in the chat. Are we buying the property or just funding the renovations? And that's a good question. So we have a program where we actually are buying the property, and then we have our program where we're just funding the renovations, but sometimes they work really well in tandem, where we will purchase the property first and then fund the renovations and then be reimbursed once the property sells. Thank you.
Hey, Lauren, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm Miguel, by the way. I've been talking with you here and there over the last couple of months. I'm usually asking about the easy flip.
I know.
But yeah, I'm happy that the concierge service is still going. My question is what's the fee or the cost for using the concierge?
So our margins, which you're specifically referring to, like the markup that we put in the vendor's costs.
Okay. Yeah.
So it depends on the scope of work and the saleability of the home. It can be anywhere between 15 to 25%.
Okay. Of the cost of the work.
Yes. So if we're able to work with our preferred vendors, get rebates or competitive pricing, we then will factor in our margins. But for Avon, if you're not using our pay upon closing, then our margins wouldn't be that high.
Okay. And then as far as the scope of work, is there like a monetary limit? Is it about 100 grand or is it closer to 50 or you want to keep it under a certain amount?
So there's so many factors that come into play, like the as-is value of the property, the client's equity in the property. If they don't have enough equity, then we definitely will cap it much lower, not even at 50,000. But there is a full underwriting process, so you will know well before we get to even the point of getting bids from the vendors what the budget would be.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Oh, you have one more question in the chat.
We're working on the marketing materials. I should have something for you very shortly. As I mentioned, Avon is new, so we've just been kind of fine tuning that program and how it fits into our pre-sale home prep. In terms of preferred areas, no, we're actually a nationwide company. So anywhere in California is fine. We may not necessarily have a project manager that would physically go to the property, but we do very well with virtual walkthroughs or even pictures. We'll definitely send vendors directly out to the property. So we don't have any restrictions. You're welcome.
And you said that that if they have certain vendors in mind, that they can go through the approval process to have them assigned to the project, right?
Absolutely, yes. As long as they are licensed and insured, it's just a simple PDF file that they complete, and then we can get them onboarded.
Great. Okay, well, I think you covered everything. If there aren't any other questions, we'll just keep an eye out for your updated marketing material, and we'll make sure that the offices have that to distribute.
Awesome. And then I'm also putting my direct contact information in the chat if anyone has any further questions. They can definitely email or text or call me.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.